Right, so the God of classical theism is defined by three core attributes. First, omnipotent, which means all-powerful. Second, omnibenevolent, meaning perfectly good. And third, omniscient, or all-knowing. It's the combination of these attributes, particularly the first two, that really gets the philosophical problem started. And here's the fundamental conflict. When you take those divine attributes, an all-powerful and a perfectly good God, and you contrast them with the reality of evil and suffering in the world, a central question immediately pops up. This is the question at the heart of the problem of evil. Now, philosophers have taken this general challenge and expressed it through two very distinct arguments. It's absolutely crucial to be able to distinguish between what we call the logical and the evidential forms of the problem. The logical problem of evil makes the stronger claim of the two. It argues that there's a direct logical contradiction between the existence of the God of classical theism and the existence of any evil at all. They are supposedly logically incompatible. So how does the argument actually work? Well, it's a deductive argument. Premise 1, an omnipotent God has the power to get rid of evil. Premise 2, an omnibenevolent God has the desire to get rid of evil. The implication then is, well, if God has both the power and the desire, evil shouldn't exist. But when we observe the world, we see that evil clearly does exist. And the conclusion, therefore, is that the God of classical theism must not exist. The logical problem is an argument from contradiction. It claims God and evil simply cannot coexist, and its aim is to show that belief in God is irrational. The evidential problem, on the other hand, is an argument from probability. It claims that the sheer amount and nature of evil makes God's existence highly unlikely. Its goal is to show that belief isn't supported by the evidence we see in the world. All right, we've looked at the two forms of the problem. Let's now turn from the arguments to the subject of evil itself, which is usually divided into two distinct categories. First, we have moral evil. This is the kind of evil that results from the actions and choices of moral agents, like humans. Think of things like cruelty, injustice, and violence. Then you have natural evil. This results from natural processes, completely independent of human choice. We're talking about things like diseases, natural disasters, and decay. This distinction is really important because each type of evil poses a different kind of challenge and might require a different philosophical response. So, having set up the problem and its components, we can now look at the two main categories of philosophical response. These are known as a defense and a theodicy. A defense has a pretty modest goal. It just wants to show that there's no logical contradiction, so it's mainly aimed at the logical problem of evil. It claims only that it's possible God has a good reason for allowing evil. A theodicy, though, is much more ambitious. Its goal is to try and explain the actual reason for evil, so it targets both the logical and the evidential problems. It really tries to justify God's goodness in the face of all that suffering. So, to quickly recap the whole framework, the core problem comes from that conflict between God's attributes and the existence of evil. The problem itself has two forms: logical, which argues from contradiction, and evidential, which argues from improbability. Evil is broken down into two types: moral evil from agents and natural evil from nature. And finally, the responses are categorized as either a defense, which argues for logical possibility, or a theodicy, which tries to provide an actual justification.